Good morning, everybody. Today, you guys are going to be working on solving equations by simplifying. That means that you're going to have an equation that you're going to solve just as you have been doing. However, that's going to require some simplification ahead of time. So let's go ahead and first review how to simplify. Remember, when we simplify expressions, we are combining our like terms, meaning that we are looking for terms with the same variable. So in the case of number one here, this negative 18y and this 10y will be able to be combined together. Or if we have two constants, like over here, those are also like terms. We can combine those two together. Now remember, we cannot combine our variable terms to our constant terms. They are unlike terms, right? These are like bananas, these are like apples. If we put bananas and apples together, we don't end up with just a big pile of bananas. We still end up with bananas and apples. Let's go ahead and delve into this first one here. So the first thing I notice is that there is subtraction right here. It's okay if this lead term starts with a negative. Okay, that stays a negative 18 times y. And then this minus 11, we're going to change to adding the opposite. So that's plus a negative 11 plus 10 times y. Okay, so I like to start on the left, and I'm going to go ahead and find my like terms. I'm going to start by looking at my y terms. So this is negative 18y. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to find my other y terms. Well, this is a constant. This does not have a y variable here, so I'm not going to list that one next because that cannot be combined with this negative 18y. I do come across my third term here, though. It is a 10y, 10 times y. So that can be combined with the negative 18y. And then going back through, the only other term that we have here is this negative 11. And he doesn't have any friends. There's no other like terms to that negative 11. So he's just going to be on his lonesome. He gets to just stay negative 11. Now we're going to combine our like terms. Now I've just listed them in order so I can combine my y terms and then combine my constants. But you know what? There's only one constant. So there's not a lot of math that's going to be going on for that constant. But let's take a look at these two. When we add negative 18y plus 10y, we're just going to add those coefficients and put the y afterwards. So still y, and then what do we have more of, positives or negatives? We have more negatives. How many more negatives are there? There are 8 more negatives. And then again, there's nothing to be added to this negative 11, so he just stays negative 11. And that's it. That's as simplified as this expression can get. We can only combine our like terms. In this case, it's our negative 18y and our 10y. But we can't go any further. We cannot combine our 8y's to our negative 11 constant. They are two unlike terms. They are completely different things. So that's as simplified as we can get. Let's take a look at number 2 here. Again, this is 14 times x plus 2 times x minus 6 plus 4. Again, seeing that subtraction there cues me off that I need to add the opposite. Okay? And now this is nice. This one's nice. It's already listed. We have our two like terms, our two variable terms, 14x and 2x. Those can be combined together. And then we have our two constants, the negative 6 and the 4. Okay, now it's nice in these problems, they only have one type of variable term, right? It's got to be the same variable term. So they both have to have the same x variable in order to combine those two terms. If this was 14x plus 2y, we would not be able to combine those two terms because, again, they are two different things. In this case, though, we're lucky. We can add this 14x plus this 2x, gives us 16x. And then we're able to add this negative 6 plus the 4. What do we have more of? We have more negatives. How many more negatives are there? There are 2 more negatives. So this expression simplifies to 16 times x plus negative 2. Once again, we cannot simplify any further than that. That is as simplified of an expression as we can get. We cannot add our 16 bananas plus our 2 rotten apples, right? We can't add those together and say that we have 14 bananas or 18 bananas. We have 16 bananas and 2 rotten apples. That's as simplified of an expression as we can get. right, let's have you guys practice a couple of these. Go ahead and start with number 1 here. I'll give you the answer in a second. All right, let's look at number 1 before you guys have a chance to work on number 2. Again, I'm going to go through and first add the opposite. This lead term is a negative 7y. Just leave it a negative 7y. That's not a subtraction, that's a negative. Okay, so going through and I see minus 11. So I'm going to add the opposite. Here's minus 10 times y plus the opposite. Add the opposite. Okay, that allows me to see that this term is actually a negative 10y, and this term is actually a negative 11. Now let's go ahead and find our like terms. Again, starting from the left, I see this is a negative 7y. I'll list that one, and I'm going to go through and see if there are any other y terms. Well, this one is not a y term, that is a constant, and then we have the negative 10y. And then, let me put a little box around that one. There we go. And then again, that poor lonely negative 11. Is that the same lonely negative 11 from the last page we were looking at? Quite possibly. He is just all by himself. No friends for him. No one is like this constant in this expression. Right? All right. So now we can combine our like terms. We can combine our two y terms. Now in this case, we have negatives plus more negatives. When we have negatives plus more negatives, it creates a bigger pile of negatives. So negative 17y and then plus negative 11. Once again, that's as simplified of an expression as we can get. We cannot combine our negative 17y with our negative 11. Now go ahead and try number 2. All right, let's go ahead and go over this. This is 3 times x plus 2 times x minus 2. I'm going to change that to adding a negative 2 plus 5 times x minus 6, which I'm going to change to plus a negative 6. This one has 5 terms here, so it's a little more complicated, but I think we can do it. Let's go ahead and start from the left and just list out our like terms. I'm going to look for all my x variable terms. This is a constant. Oh, here's another friend to the x variable terms. And then that's a constant as well. And then going through and finding our constants, there's a negative 2 and a negative 6. Okay, so we can add all 3 of these variable terms. And again, when we add variable terms, you're just adding the coefficients. So it's 3 plus 2 plus 5 gives me 10, and then the variable stays attached there. And then we're going to add our 2 constants. Negative 2 plus negative 6 is negative 8. Negatives plus more negatives gives us a bigger pile of negatives. And that's it. That's as simplified as that can get. All right, so by the end of the day, you'll be able to solve equations, and you'll accomplish this by simplifying the equation in order to isolate the variable. Here is an equation now. You'll see it's different than an expression because there is an equal sign here, right? This equal sign tells us that we can actually solve for our y. Now, before we solve for a y and go through the process in which we have been doing to solve for y, we first need to simplify the left side of this equation. Look at that. There are 3 terms. They are all y terms, and we need to combine them together, and then we will solve this equation. On the right side of this equation, there's just a constant, one constant, so we don't need to worry about that. There's nothing to be simplified on the right side. However, it's a little messy on the left side, so let's clean that up. Let's simplify this expression. Let's start by reading this. This is 4 times y minus 5 times y minus negative 14 times y is equal to 13. Let's go through and add the opposite. So subtracting positive 5y is the same as adding a negative. Subtracting a negative, remember, is the same as adding a positive. Add the opposite. All right. Now these are all y terms. We've got 4y, negative 5y, and 14y. Let's start by just adding these 2 together. Combine those 2 together. Again, remember, when we're adding positives to negatives, we have to look at what do we have more of. We have more negatives. In fact, we have 1 more negative y. And then I'm just going to rewrite the rest of this equation here. Okay. And now we can simplify further. We have negative 1y plus 14y. What do we have more of now? We have more positives. In fact, we have 13 more positives. This one negative y is going to take out one of those positive y's. And now we have just one term with a variable in it. And now we can go ahead and solve. So we've read it, we've simplified. The variable is right here. Okay, let's go ahead and separate our left side from our right side. Let's create zero pairs. Guess what? We don't need to create zero pairs here because there is nothing attached. There's nothing being added to this variable term here. So done. We don't have to do anything. And now we have to undo this operation though. How do we undo 13 times y? We're going to divide by 13. And if we divide the left side by 13, we're going to divide the right side by 13 as well. 13 divided by 13 will give us that 1y. Let me make that blue, be consistent here, is equal to 13 divided by 13 is 1. So y equals 1. Once you simplify your expression on one side of the equation, then you're just solving this as we have been doing. Let's have you go ahead and try this one. All right, let's see what we get here. So again, this is 16 times m minus 11 times m equals 15. Let's add the opposite here. Okay, I'm going to separate my left side from my right side, and let's combine these two like terms. They both have the same variable. They are both m terms. Now again, we have positives plus negatives. What do we have more of? We have more positive m, so I know that this is going to be positive. And how many more positives are there? There are 5 more positive m's. Now again, we don't need to put that positive there, but sometimes I like to use it just as a placeholder, as a reminder that this is a positive 5m. That is equal to 15. All right, we've simplified, we've read it out loud, identify the variable, it's right here on the left side, and guess what? Again, there's no zero pairs here. There's nothing we need to add or subtract because this 5m is already, the variable term is already isolated. Now we just need to isolate the m. So in order to do that, we're going to undo the operation. This is 5 times m. To undo 5 times m, we're going to divide by 5. And if we divide by it on the left side, we're going to divide on the right side. That creates a 1m, right? That's a 1m. So we get 1m is equal to 15 divided by 5 is 3. So m is equal to 3. We've got one more here for you. Okay, this one is going to have a constant. Okay, so again, first we are going to go ahead and read this out loud and rewrite it as needed. We write our lines down here. So this is 16 times x minus 6 times x minus 1 is equal to negative 51. Ooh, big number over there. All right, so I'm going to go through. Again, I'm going to add the opposite here. Add the opposite, get rid of those subtractions so we see what term we are actually dealing with there. All right, I see two like terms here, right? 16x and negative 6x. They are both the same type of term. They are like terms because look at, they both have the same variable there. They look alike to me. We can combine those together, okay? So 16x plus negative 6x, we have more positives than negatives. In fact, we have 10 more x's. And then there is not any other constant to add to this negative 1. Remember, this is on the left side of the equal sign. We cannot add this negative 1 to the negative 51. The negative 51 is on the right side of the equation. So think of this as two separate expressions. There's this expression over here, and then there's this expression right here. And neither the two shall meet, okay? And now that we've done this, okay, we've read it, we've simplified, identify the variable. Guess what? Here's the variable right here on the left side, which tells me the left side of the equation is going to dictate to me what to do, right? So now we need to create zero pairs. We first need to get this variable term on its own. So let's get rid of this negative 1. How do we get rid of a negative 1? We're going to add a positive 1. Negative 1 plus positive 1 is going to give us 0, right? And if we add positive 1 to the left side, we need to add a positive 1 to the right side. Now we still have this 10x here. We're just going to bring that down because 10x plus 0 now is just going to be 10x. And over here on this side, let's see what happened. We had 51 negatives plus 1 positive. This 1 positive is going to take out one of those negatives and leave you with negative 50. Okay, so we've created our 0 pairs with the negative 1. And now let's undo this operation. Let's undo the multiplication with division. All right, so to undo 10 times x, we're going to divide by 10. And if we divide the left side by 10, we're going to divide the right side by 10. 10 divided by 10, that gives me that 1x. And 1x is divided by a negative divided by a positive is a negative, and 50 divided by 10 is 5. So we get 1x, or x is equal to negative 5. Yes, that was fun. Your turn to try one of these out now. Let's see what you got here. This is your last practice before you get into IXL. Let's see what you got. All right, welcome back. Let's see what we got here. Again, I'm going to just start by separating this. Let's go ahead and read this out loud. This is 4 times x plus 2 times x plus 6 is equal to 18. All right, it's all addition. We don't need to change anything, right? That's nice. That's great. But we can simplify this. We have 2 variable terms over here. So let's add those 2 variable terms together. 4x plus 2x is 6x. And then we have this constant. Again, there's nothing to be added to that constant. That is just plus 6 is equal to 18. All right, so we've simplified. Now let's go ahead and identify the variable. The variable is right here, right? The 6x. So let's first get that variable term on its own by getting rid of this positive 6. Let's create 0 pairs with that positive 6. Well, what do we need to add to positive 6 to get 0? We need to add negative 6. And if we add negative 6 to the left side, guess what? We're going to add negative 6 to the right side as well. That's going to create a 0. Positive 6 plus negative 6 makes 0. They take each other out, which leaves us with just this 6x here. So 6x is equal to, and now we got to do a little math over here, 18 plus negative 6. We have more positives than negatives. These 6 negatives are going to take out 6 of those positives, which leaves us with 12. Okay, so we got rid of that positive 6. Now, let's undo this operation. This is 6 times x. We don't want to know what 6x is equal to. We want to know what 1x is equal to. So let's go ahead and divide this side by the coefficient. Whatever your coefficient is, divide by that. It's going to create a 1, right? Any number divided by itself is equal to 1x, right? This creates that 1. But remember, if we divide the left side by 6, we've got to divide the right side by 6 as well. And 12 divided by 6, a positive divided by a positive is a positive, and 12 divided by 6 is 2. We find out that x is equal to 2. 2. All right, your assignment here today is to practice and master S8, okay? This is solving equations involving like terms. You need to get a SMART score of 70, and that will be equivalent to 100, okay? Go ahead and get started on that, and have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.